Rivers do not drink their own water. Trees do not eat their own fruit. The sun does not shine on itself, and flowers do not spread their fragrance for themselves. Living for others is a rule of nature. We are all born to help each other. No matter how difficult it is, life is good when you are happy, but much better when others are happy because of you.
A few months ago, I wrote an article saying there was a danger of planes hovering and Americans and Italians and other people hovering to dump the problem of Afghanistan on Africa. It did not take long before the war in other parts of Africa became worse. Ethiopia was on fire. It started, it increased. Then we had Mozambique was on fire with rebels of Al-Shabaab and other ISIS elements disrupting the region of Southern Africa. But then what has shocked the world and most of SADC nations of South African Development Organization, SADC Corporation, is the setting up of AFCOM offices. Previously, AFCOM was in Djibouti. It closed their offices and they were looking for somewhere else to go. They came and approached Kenya and they said they want, Kenyans said, I think we have a lot of our own bases with you. It is not possible. The commander of AFCOM, while leaving and giving his final speech in Africa, all of you know what he was talking about. That we have not left, but we are only changing the tactics of fighting, helping Africa to fight bad governance, terrorism, removing insecurity in most of the areas. He visited all the areas in West Africa. What then has come out? They found a place in Zambia. The president of Zambia, therefore HH, agreed without consent of other SADC members to set up AFCOM Center in Lusaka. What has it got? What are the benefits of AFCOM Center in Lusaka? What is it aiming at? What does it want to achieve? Why set it in Lusaka and not in South Africa? Why set it in Lusaka and not in Mozambique where there is a war? The proximity of Zambia to Congo gives one other area why AFCOM wants to set itself in Lusaka. The proximity of Zimbabwe from Lusaka gives it another angle why AFCOM wants to set itself in Lusaka. Therefore, combination of these factors plus factors of monetary value of which China and Zambia are writing off a debt guaranteed by France complicates the matter, of which neighbors of Zambia are crying and are saying there is an element of regime change being perpetrated from Zambia against the states of Zimbabwe and other South African states that might not be in good books with America. Therefore, it is very, very imperative that we understand the difficulties that Zambia finds itself, given that Zambia has given an okay to host AFCOM. There are lots of diplomatic maneuvers that are taking place behind the scenes to explain why AFCOM was allowed to set base in Zambia, in Lusaka. The late President Kaunda brought about the changes of Southern Africa through the support that he gave to liberation movements, all of them that sprang, and it was called a frontline state. The late Nyerere, the late Obote, the late Jomo Kenyatta, all of them worked towards a stable Africa, an Africa without undue influence, without any oppressive methods of how to support either America or Russia. An Africa where we need to say we are independent and we can make our own views. That was the volume, the direction of our founding fathers who have perished and left us today. The voices of Kaunda still ring in this country called Zambia. The voices of nationalism, the voices of Pan-Africanism still ring in the minds of the people. But are the governments heeding to that voice? The answer is no. We seem to be heeding to the voice of the people that today we who are in power, who have no social contract, who have a contract but we don't use it, can Zambia object to any support given that China has taken up the copper production in country, which is the copper mines? The biggest copper mines are on the continent, on the globe, where copper is produced. They revived the factory, bought it at peanuts, but later on revived it to produce what can feed Zambia throughout their economic plans of the 10, 20 years. Is Zambia, therefore, a state, a satellite state? Or is Zambia becoming a satellite state of the hovering dark forces that dismember Africa day in, day out? I leave it to you, viewers, that one day you might find out that it is or it is not. But for me, the creation of an office of AFCO in Lusaka creates instability within the region, creates instability within SADC. The SADC members seem not to be very comfortable with a base created interior. What does it serve a landlocked country to have a base of the Americans? The base usually this goes where there's water, where ships can anchor, but it will take long. We don't have a direct route to the Indian Ocean, neither a direct route to Atlantic Ocean. Is Zambia, therefore, being used as a satellite state? Thank you. Thank you for Africa.
The war between Russia and Ukraine has taken a new twist. The new twist is it has brought in new partners who are forcefully being dragged into a proxy war. It has never been our war. Africa is several miles away from Ukraine, from Russia. Africa depends on its own resources. It has its own wars. Each country in Africa has got a problem of its own, different in making, different in fashion, and different in format. What then makes us be attached to a war that we have no clue about? What makes us even get involved in a war? Is it because we are coerced? Is it because we have been told, coerced to go into a war and told to join a war that we don't know about? The human rights abuses are plenty in Africa. As we speak, Ethiopia, Tigray, DRC Congo, Somalia, Libya, they are all burning. Nobody has come up to solve this war, especially the one in Somalia, that has been ranging since 1991.
Good morning, viewers. Thank you very much. Welcome to Punchline Africa Watch program brought to you by Dr. David Matsanga, all the way from London. Today is 14th of February 2023, the year of our Lord, a day that most of the people across the planet seem to have taken the concept of Valentine's Day of love. But this love on the continent of Africa, therefore, has become a sour pill. A sour pill in the sense we have lost the values of love that have created conflicts on the African continent. Across the African continent, the entire Africa, 3/4 of our population are under starvation, unarmed struggles, and strikes, famine, floods, environmental degradation that has taken place on the continent of Africa. The conflicts on the continent of Africa have played a major part, taken part of our freedom that we obtained from the colonial masters in the 1960s. The first country in Africa to obtain independence, Ghana 1957, under Kwame Nkrumah, fell under the hammer of conflict. General Achampong came and overthrew President Kwame Nkrumah. Ghana plunged into killings, assassination, firing squads, which went back to a military situation. Democracy was lost. Today, as we sit and watch the entire continent of Africa, as we peruse through our memoirs, as we watch, we gather for meetings, as we call summits, meetings, Africa is bleeding. As we celebrate this Valentine's Day on the African continent, the concept that was made, manufactured, procured from our colonizers, we have a problem as Africans. Have we lost the values of love that have delivered us towards conflict? Have we destroyed our same values, our same doctrines of love as Africans? Have we manufactured the words of hatred? The hatred that you see in the valleys, the mountains of Africa, the groupings that you see that go on tormenting people in the valleys, in the forests of Democratic Republic of Congo, in the deserts of Sahara region, across the Sahara region from west to east, Eritrea, Gambia on the west, Eritrea in the east, Sudan in the middle, Chad in the middle, Cameroon across to Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Mali. Conflict, insecurity is the word of every African. It's on the lips of every African. Lots of things have happened in Africa because we've lost the value of love. Can this day, therefore, in my analysis from Africa Watch program, the Insecurity Watch, the Security Watch on Africa, this show, which I am about and which I've started, in this phase 1, what can we do as Africans to restore our values of love, to avoid conflicts that eat our national budgets, that eat our economies, that destroy our elections, that destroy our fundamental principles that we used to gain our independence? Where have we gone wrong? Where have we gone wrong? Why have neighbors turned on each other to slaughter each other? Why are we killing each other? Marcus Garvey said, and I quote, that the evil of internal divisions that are wrecking our communities, that are wrecking our people, and if we don't acknowledge the existence of these internal wreckings, and if we do not seriously and quickly move in the direction of removing them as obstacles, the readjustment of our societies on Africa, this is Marcus Garvey said so, the readjustment of our African societies. It simply means that our doom becomes eminently conclusive. Ladies and gentlemen, the people of Africa today, on this day of 14th February, the year of our Lord, what then can we do? What can we do to preach peace? What can we do to bridge the gulf that has extended and widened amongst the communities. In Nigeria, Boko Haram is killing at will. Violence is occurring every day as Nigeria goes to elections in 11 days from now. Will this election not be contested? As Nigeria plunges itself towards unknown murky waters as to whether the elections of this nation will be observed, will be determined, will be conclusively agreed upon by the fellow Nigerians that this is a free and fair elections. Isn't it time for us in Africa to stand and watch and listen and say, let's call out for these conflicts? Who funds these conflicts? Who enjoys when there are conflicts on the African continent? Are we not the same people? As heads of state, prepare to go to the African Union tomorrow, assembling there for photo sessions. Where is on earth the agenda of the conflict on Africa? The question of democratic values, the values of love, the values of sharing, the values of being oneness, the values of giving out to people, and you give to yourself last. Where have they gone? Ladies and gentlemen, it therefore sinks in the minds of the people of Africa that much of our values have been misplaced, have been displaced, and dishonesty has arrived in our midst. I'm not a preacher, but perhaps my dad wanted me to be a preacher. May his soul rest in peace, Dad. That you had wanted me to be a bishop, a pastor, a reverend. That in 1974, after my O-levels, you strictly took me to Bishop Tucker College, Mukono, and registered me, left me with a suitcase to handle. And my uncles came out in the evening in protest, removed me from Bishop Tucker College, Mukono, in Uganda, which is currently Anglican Church University in Bishop Tucker University, one of the component universities, serious universities in Uganda, an Anglican university. What then can we resolve issues that have come to destroy Africa? Ethnicity, inequality in distribution of wealth, external forces, structural adjustments that come with structures, conflicts created because of structures. As we look at Africa and the values of Africa, as we look at the values of love that Africa has lost, that create insecurity, my people of Africa, today, how can we change our mindsets to build a cohesive, strategic Africa? The Africa Watch, therefore, looks at the values that are missing, the components that are missing in this journey the hatred amongst nations, the hatred amongst populations. The Congolese in the West don't look at the Congolese in the East as one geographical center created in 1884 by Bismarck in Berlin. Is there a need for us to readjust? Is there a need for us to readjust our, as Marcus Garvey said, unless we readjust internal rankings are happening amongst the African and the communities all over the world. Africa is suffering. The insecurity in Africa from Sahel region, from West in Gambia, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, Chad, Libya, and some parts of Sudan, up to the Red Sea in Eritrea, is the Sahara region. The Sahara region, therefore, presents a big problem for the people of Africa, that Africa must rise, that the African Union must rise and stand and tell the world that this region needs help. Isn't it the time, therefore, for us to preach the peace? Isn't it therefore the time that we don't fall into the category of Emperor Nero? Isn't it the time, therefore, that Africa changes? This clip and this video will go worldwide to the international community, to the people of Africa, that there is need not to fall into Emperor Nero's strategies of governing Africa. Is Africa, therefore, falling into these pitfalls of insanity that have destroyed several continents, especially in the Middle East? Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, brothers of African continent, religion has destroyed the Middle East. The fight between the Islam and the Christianity in the Middle East has created permanent hatred. The state of Israel, the creation of 1947 state of Israel, created what we see today, that we note today, that we, the humanity of this African continent, must take as comparative politics. That the politics that you can see, that we should not allow in the Middle East, we should not allow it in Africa. That Africa must be happy, must lead the way, must look at whether we are dividing our people on Emperor Nero's strategies that you see in Maiduguri, in North Africa, in Mali, in Nigeria, where Boko Haram kills the Christians, slaughters them, cuts them to pieces, where hostage taking in Nigeria has become the business of the day instead of exploration of oil reserves. What has happened to Africa? My programs, the Watch, the Africa Watch, and I'm ruthless. It's better to die, to be honored when you are speaking the truth, than to die, to be loved when you are not speaking the truth. Those who will bury me, therefore, will remember that I said, and I continue to say, that dark external forces destroyed our continent, have destroyed, continue to destroy our continent. How many of us as heads of state gather in African Union?
Starting from tomorrow, how many will look at Libya? The values of love in Libya were thrown in Mediterranean Sea by Sarkozy. How many African heads of state will call upon France to hand over Sarkozy for trial for crimes against humanity on the people of Libya? I am one of those who's reminding you today that Sarkozy, under resolutions 1970 of the United Nations Security Council, disguised as a resolution vetoed by China and Russia, decided to bombard a good country that had welfare state, a good country that had education system, a good country that had a social contract with its people, and they left it to lie in ruin. Fellow Africans, on this day of 14th of February 2023, what rings in your mind when you hear of commanders of M23 in Congo coming out to international press saying they are under genocide? Who is forming genocide in Congo? Who is killing who in Congo? Doesn't it strike a chord to any peace lover like Dr. Matsanga, myself, speaking on this video, that Africa needs to change, that the stakeholders in the Congo conflict need to change their behavior, both the leaders of East Africa who have double standards of talk. The Bujumbura Summit gave us an opportunity to resolve our differences in that conference. What happened then? The communique was very clear. As soon as the presidents arrived to their respective countries, sorry, they started issuing statements, different statements that, different statements that destroy Africa, that destroy the peace that we see in Congo. Isn't it time, therefore, to call out and call family and the candidate, those who are sabotaging the peace process of Democratic Republic of Congo? When can we have values of love that will stop insecurity? Have we lost the moralities, the morals? Have we sunk so low in the morality venture of what we see in Africa? What has happened to us? What killed us? What destroyed our continent, therefore? Why our continent is ever an example of bad habits? Why not Latin America? Why not Asia? Why not other places? Why Africa? Why have we been put on experimental levels of any laboratory experiment, be it COVID, be it AIDS, be it anything that comes out, monkeypox? Africa remains a center of experiments. Isn't it time, therefore, that we readjusted, as Marcus Garvey said, readjustment of our values, readjustment of our concepts, readjustment of our elections that trigger violence, that create violence? A poor country in Africa like Burundi spends $5 billion to organize an election. people of Burundi understand what an election is? The answer is no. Because as soon as the ballot papers are finished, cast, one group said, I don't know. A country has wasted $4 billion. What can $4 billion do for Burundi? Plenty. Hospitals, roads, canals, waterways, air, schools, boreholes, plant trees so that the vegetation does not go down. Burundi becomes productive, not to depend on Tanzania eastern border, which brings in a lot of wealth. Change Lake Tanganyika, part of it, into a productive sector. Where then does Burundi go to elections only to be disputed by its own people and fights, demonstrations, regime change comes on the streets of any African country? $4 billion gone. Is Africa? Are we bewitched? Is this not the tragedy of Africa that Chinawa Achebe talked about? The tragedy of Africa is we don't know what we want. We have money. We have resources, plenty. But we don't harness these resources. We don't give it to our people. The values of love have gone through corruption across the globe, across the continent of Africa. Corruption marks number one on the lips of every citizen of any 54 countries, including Sahawari, the 55th country that I support without reservations. Even if you want to kill me, even if you don't want to be in your country, anywhere in Africa, I will support Sahawari. I have no regrets. I was born when the Sahawaris were beginning their struggle against Morocco. And I will continue to support them. I don't care about you. You care about yourself. Don't care about me. I don't care, and I watch those who support Morocco. It's your problem. But my problem is Sahawari needs a determination. The black Africans, Muslims of Sahara, the Western Sahara, need a say. They need to have their legitimacy recognized and given a full place as a state in Africa. The values of love, therefore, will come when states of that nature become a reality. My last part, therefore, or the last but one, the question of African Union, therefore. Africa Watch has not looked at the agenda of African Union heads of state. I've already got a copy. And don't ask me how I got it, because I have inside the toilets of African Union the links that can give me the copy even if I have not gone there. So just blame yourself, not me. There is no agenda of areas in Cameroon, in Biafra, Igbo. The conflict is dangerous. Boko Haram, the conflict is dangerous. Libya, the conflict is dangerous. Sudan, by the way, General Douglas, my friend General Douglas, listen to me. I told you, nobody will support you for return to African Union. You should have listened to my lips. Brother, you don't listen to my lips. I am an elder to you. Listen to my lips. General Duglo, my friend, I knew you in 1994, way back before some people knew you. General Bruhan, listen to me. I know you people, my friends. You have been my friends. Listen, nobody is going to return you to African Union. I've already seen the agenda. You are wasting your time and your money. Either change the lives of the people of South of Sudan now, desist from handing over Bashir to the ICC. You will be popular. Sudan will stabilize. General Deglo, my great friend, Hamid, look at my left eye. I've never lied to you. Don't waste your time on people who might not help you. They need help themselves. They need help on international scene. How do they help you? African Union Charter is simple. General Duglo, vote for me. I'll remove the clause. You can't say, condemn a military coup. Why don't you stop a military coup from taking place in Africa? Why? Tell me, all those watching my clip, why don't we stop a military coup from taking place in Africa? Why do we condemn it when it has taken place? Where's the mechanism? Why is the African Union Peace and Security Council? What does it do? Is to earn money, to earn salaries, to get money, flights, fly everywhere, telling people you are a member of African Union Security, flying, wasting our money, buying perfumes for ladies. Shut up! Shut up! Time has come for Africa to change the course. Let's change the course by African Union that stops military coups on the continent of Africa. Hallelujah. Not an African Union that condemns the coups. Not an African Union that comes to condemn when people have died. The act of UN coming too late, doing too little, must stop. A new wave of Africans like me, energized, equipped, logistically supplied, will try to change Africa to a direction of stopping military coups and having good sense of democracy that we Africa needs today. Where have we gone wrong? Another point, we've lost the values. We lost the values. We lost what put us together. A white man came and put a knife on it. We are falling apart. Marcus Garvey said, wrecking ourselves internally. We have wrecked ourselves internally as African Union. Uganda does not speak to Rwanda for 2 years. All our businesses were blocked. We call ourselves brothers in African Union. Surely, are we not very stupid people? I'm from Uganda. Kenyans suffered. Their trucks were all loaded up in Kigali. They couldn't pass. Tanzanians suffered. Their trucks, Ugandans suffered. Very many people, some of us suffered 2.5 years. Would not be begging anybody any penny. Trucks were blocked from passage. We shouldn't talk about this. 2.5 years, you close the border. You call yourself you're in African Union? Come on, please. Come on. Tell me the truth about this. Is this the Africa that we want? We now have a conflict threatening us in the region. The former president of Kenya, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, is trying to solve the conflict. A certain country in Europe is busy telling Qatar to run quickly and call these people to table. It is a proxy playing a proxy. Qatar plays a proxy because it has the money to collect our leaders like a sheep. Let's go. Sign this. Sign. No! 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 Man dies once. You can say anything. Are we hurtling towards Emperor Nero strategies? If I'm wrong, check your African country, wherever you are. If I'm telling lies, God help me. Are we hurtling towards Emperor Nero's strategies? We are destroying the same place, the same politics. Boko Haram kills people. Al-Shabaab is killing people. We know the people who fund Al-Shabaab. They come out, they fly out, they do everything. Where does Al-Shabaab go after it has bombed us? It stays inside? Where does it get its uniform? No African leader can tell me. Matanga, I know where they get their uniform, because I can compare their uniform with another country across the Red Sea. Allah! 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 Across the Red Sea, the uniform sneaks in. Does it work? Does it work? A man coming to kill you with a new uniform when our soldiers defending themselves with very poor uniform and boots. Who is funding them? Africa. I'm not talking about particular countries. Some people thought I studied politics to talk about one country in Africa or this. No. I've spoken. I've stood high on Zimbabwe. I have stood high on Zimbabwe. Has Zimbabwe paid me a penny? Do I have a helicopter that I bought out? Did I ask Mugabe for a penny? Have I asked Mnangagwa for a penny? They fly out. Has Mnangagwa given Matanga any penny? No. He's there. He's a human being. He has never. I've seen him several times, 4 times in his office. I've never asked for even a penny to get out or to have an air ticket to go. That's why I'm proud. But from 1998, this is the man who was vilified by Tony Blair. I lost my job in Common Foreign and the Commonwealth Office with Robin Cook, a great friend of mine whom we worked together in Walworth Road in the Labour Party. I'm a member of the Labour Party. I would have won my constituency and become an MP in the House of Commons, which was my ambition. I lost because of Zimbabwe. Because of that Mugabe, the late. I found his views similar to my views. And I stood up and I told Tony Blair, no, I'd rather not be. I'd rather remain a member of the Labour Party, which I have voted since I went to United Kingdom. I continue to vote up to today. If a snap election is called, I will vote Labour Party, whether it loses or not, because loyalty is the most important thing, not prostitution. I'm not an opportunist. I pay loyalty. When I stood against ICC, was I an animal? Did I ask people for money, their money? They have plenty of it. Have I asked for them their money? Come on. You can enjoy, but speak less on Dr. Matsabi, because he has values. He has values, and I warn him, I have values. I will never betray any African as long as that court stands. I hate the court, and I will never be part of that, any decision that anybody makes for an African to be airlifted as if we have lost love values and create more insecurity by airlifting Africans and taking them to the ICC. What a mess of Africa. What a mess. What a mess. How many Congolese have we sentenced in ICC? 3 of them. Is there peace in Congo? Is there peace in Congo? Tell me. There are some Africans, myopic analysts, who stopped outside the universities, but they claim to have gone to study inside the university. They keep on telling people that the ICC is a very good organization. Good. Who selects them? Themselves. Who sacks them? Themselves. Do you have a say in sacking a judge in the ICC? No. You don't have assembly of state parties, people sitting, oh, because I was in America, I know how to speak some English. I will be a party to it, then that Matanga is this. What are you? You're just a traitor sitting on a position when you really wanted to destroy the same people. I've never destroyed anybody. Africa needs to wake up. And look at the areas that can help our continent. In the summary, therefore, and this is the last bit. The last bit of our analysis of Africa Watch on lost values of love that have caused insecurity and the conflicts is Africa hurtling towards Emperor Nero's strategies. The answer is yes. What then has killed Africa? What has killed Africa? Number one enemy of Africa is ethnicity. Number two is exclusion and inequality. Number three is extremist voices, Christian extremism and Islamic extremism. Both factors work in some countries in Africa. Number four, ideology in constitutionalism. Dual ideology in constitutionalism. We have copied constitutions that hurtle us towards Emperor Nero's strategies. Number five, the resources. We have taken resources, controlled them without controlling the delivery of those resources. You control the resources, but you don't know the outlet. You have created a bad Africa. The clashes of farmers and herdsmen, which one could call in Sahel region, where these have sparked a conflict in the entire Sahel region, like in Nigeria and other parts of Africa, are also a process of lost values of love that have caused insecurity. Nepotism, cronyism, favoritism, these have been factors that create conflicts in Africa. Religious intolerance. Religious intolerance. Most of you in Africa know what I'm talking about. Have we become religiously intolerant to each other? Are we using religion to do what we want, or are we transmitting values of love? Values of love on this day, 14th February 2023. The last one is corruption. And the last one is the question of natural resources for the question of Congo and other parts of Africa. The problem of Somalia is religious. Some people want to wrestle the main state, which is conservative, which is liberal governance, to extremist situation of Al-Shabaab. That conflict has taken place and it continues to take place since 1991. Are we, therefore, as Africans, saying time has come for us to review reality just as Marcus Garvey? Marcus Garvey, a Pan-Africanist, said what wrecks us internally, we are internally wrecked. People are not talking in the same, and Marcus Garvey's values are like Matanga's values. I advocate for one thing finally, a redemption strategy. And if African heads of state gathering in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, the religious intolerance in Addis Ababa, where you are going to fly today, tomorrow, already our foreign ministers are flying in. There is religious intolerance on the streets of Addis Ababa. You will be walking through it. If you think Matanga is telling a lie, just switch on your TV and see what is happening in Addis Ababa. You cannot heal such a religious intolerance in the circumstances of that nature. May God, therefore, help Africa to see the values of love that are missing, and are causing insecurity in Africa, hurtling us towards Emperor Nero's strategies. I land my mic and I thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.